Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turf Topics, presented by Aquaritin Turf Solutions. Our guest is Glen Dube, the superintendent at Centennial Golf Club, a 27-hole daily fee facility in Carmel, New York.
Glen, thanks for making time to join us amidst the busy schedule. I know you're getting ready for your 2023 season. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You have 27 holes to deal with at your facility. What are some of the unique challenges that come up from having to maintain 27 holes and just for general conditions?
Yeah, Centennial Golf Club is located up in Putnam County, just north of Westchester, an hour north of New York City. And this tract of land, for the most part, is very hilly, and there's not really a flat lie out here at all. So we have areas of runoff, we have areas of high dry spots. So I've got turf that's under droughty condition. I have turf that's under wet condition, and usually right next to each other in spots, as you could imagine. So if we're really wet, getting everything mowed is challenging, and we have 27 holes, and we are a public golf course, and we're open from March through November, and we got to get everything cut and done while we're open, and we do have a 1 day a week. We have a closed 9, but we get a lot of our spraying done on those days, but it's full on open every day. We're working, in concert with golfers playing out there, and we all have to do it safely and try to keep the customer in mind and make sure they have a good time. So,
before you started using Aquaritin 19, what was your fairway program like?
My fairway fertilization program was a granular fertilizer twice a year. In the spring and early fall, and I had supplemented with just some foliar iron with that and some growth regulator, and then iron would be there to offset any yellowing or that we would experience with that application. But it was a granular fertilizer.
When you decided to switch to Aquaritin a couple of years ago, what went into the thought process as far as making the change?
I had been introduced to Aquaritin by my salesman, and I used it on my greens, and I was seeing a very, very positive result. I met with my assistant, and we had gone through a bunch of changes with equipment and products, and we boiled it down to a couple things, and one of them was the addition of the Aquaritin line to our greens. So we went ahead at the suggestion of obviously my salesman, and he introduced us to Aquaritin 19, and we started seeing benefits almost immediately. So we went ahead and continue to use it, and now it's an integral part of our program.
What kind of interval and rate of application are you using? Are you following the label pretty much?
Yeah, we're following the label for Aquaritin 19. We're following the label, and it's every 2 to 3 weeks, just whenever we get around to spraying our fairways. So we start off the season, the interval is just, not 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the weather early on. We'll call it the shoulder seasons. Every time the sprayer goes out, it goes in the tank. As we get into the thick of it in the growing months in June, July, and part of August, half of June, mid-June to mid-August, we're going out every 2 weeks. We try to stick as tight to that as we can, and because the pressure's pretty high. Yeah, so every 2 weeks with that, and but every time the sprayer goes out, we're putting that in the tank. No more, no less. Just putting it out, just keeping it steady.
So what kind of results are you seeing, first of all, as far as nitrogen usage, second of all, in terms of what your fairways look like?
Yeah, well, when the use of this Aquaritin really spiked and came into focus during the pandemic. We were, when the pandemic happened in 2020, we was right at the beginning of the season, and we were, like everything else around the world, it just kind of stopped. So my instructions from upper management were to not make any more purchases. We don't spend any. We don't know what's going to happen here. So once the smoke kind of cleared and we were keeping costs to a minimum and then so we had a fertilizer application out there, and we let that kind of time out that year, and then with COVID and not spend any money, we decided to not put our fall application of granular fertilizer out. And we noticed that the color was kind of maintaining, and and part of the reason was maybe there was enough residual nitrogen left over from our previous method of fertilizing, and the plant was using that up, and so we kind of carried forward. Now fast forward through the pandemic, and then things kind of started coming back around, and we enter two things: the labor crunch and the spike in prices of the global demand on fertilizer and whatnot. We went ahead and decided to forego our spring application of granular product and let everything time out, all the while using the Aquaritin 19 as our sole nitrogen source. And the aesthetically appealing turf grew, and what we struggle with here, the Aquaritin 19 provided relief on many fronts. We struggle with dollar spot management here, particularly at Centennial. And dollar spot is a low nitrogen disease, and we ran into the situation where we had low nitrogen. We weren't really putting it out in the granular form, only through Aquaritin 19. And our disease incidence, we noticed we're getting longevity on our sprays. The incidence was greatly reduced, and I just would step back and look at the product, and it looked, meaning the golf course, the turf, and it looked great. And another reason, so we had the price hike, and then we had the labor crunch. It's been particularly in our industry, finding labor has been very difficult the past couple of years, and to be honest with you, I didn't have any labor. If I continued fertilizing with the granular fertilizers, even when I'm using growth regulators, the grass would grow, and I have to mow it, and I didn't really have the manpower to mow it as frequently as necessary. So I was still getting, good color, some improved disease control, and very little in the way of clippings. And of course, my growth regulator use my rate increased, and but that was all part of the mix to kind of work. We had less to work with, so we were still getting everything done, and I would continually to monitor everything, and I'd say, wow, what is going on here that we're getting this result? And the only thing different I was doing was putting Aquaritin 19 in. That was it. So
sounds like a great success story.
Yeah, that, and I have some issues here with my water, and I was using another product to combat that issue. And I think those two, the Aquaritin 19 and the other product that I'm using to combat my water issue, which my water is high in bicarbonates, and that ties up the plant's ability to take in nutrients properly, and so by relieving the water situation, applying this Aquaritin 19 and letting it do what it's supposed to do, and giving the plant its chance to do what it's supposed to do, I'm finding great results with it, and it's so easy to mix. Like I mentioned before, we're at a public golf course here, and when we spray, it's get up and go time. We go like hell when we go, and I'm always looking for something to not cut a corner, but just save some time. And I don't need to spend a lot of time with this stuff. It's in a convenient package size for us, and we just found a home run here.
Our thanks to Glen Dube for joining us on this edition of Turf Topics presented by Aquaritin Turf Solutions, and our thanks to all of you for joining us. Please join us next time.